welcome to session 1 of Dust by Dawn. We are starting on a very windy night in 2021. The chill of winter hasn't quite left Silver Springs. It's a clear night. There's no clouds in the sky. There's no humidity to dampen the effect of the wind on your skin. Fortunately for all of you, you don't really feel it anymore. The wind doesn't really bother you. It might mess up your hair, it might blow your coat back, but other than that, it's just wind. Um, Sometimes it carries a scent, sometimes it carries a sound. Sometimes it might lead you to look at a magazine and see the symbols written in cacophony all over the cover. Um, so on this night, we find Cole, and Cole is out prowling the streets. And tonight, Cole is looking for someone to feed from. Cole is feeling a little hungry. He needs something to take the edge off, and then he can get on with his night. So, where is Cole? Where does he hunt?
Would would being part of like in Invictus territory, is that like open feeding grounds for everybody in Invictus? Okay,
Yes, it
so
is.
that would be the area that he would be looking in then, in friendly environs.
Okay. Who is he looking for? Is he looking for anyone in particular? And how is he looking for them?
He would be looking um, probably for someone a little bit more upper class, someone who's dressed nice. He's not looking he's not looking to make the down and outs night any harder than it might be. So um, he would scout just streets first to see who's out, and then probably um, a higher end nightlife type place.
Okay. Roll me a simple wits and investigation, please. You don't find anyone matching what you want out in the street. Most of the people that you come across are packed up tight in homeless camps. You pass a lot of tents, makeshift shelters. You decide that you don't want to mess with them. They have it as hard enough as it is. So after about 10 minutes of walking, you do come to a nightclub called Ether. You can hear the music pumping. You see the lights flashing through the few windows that are on the exterior of the building. Standing outside, of course, are two very muscular men. They have their arms crossed. They're checking people's identification as they come in.
Would you say that using face in the crowd would make the bouncers ignore him as he's sliding inside, or would they stop him?
I would definitely say that facing the crowd, you could probably slip in behind somebody and they would just assume that they've checked your ID.
That was his initial plan was just to I'm facing the crowd. I'm just going to slide right in.
Okay, perfect. So you find a spot between one person going in and the next, and as the bouncers hand back their IDs, you manage to just slip inside. Once you get inside, the sounds and the smells and the sights, they're just overwhelming, and you can feel the beast inside of you just roiling with hunger now that you're around all of these warm, sweaty, bleeding bodies. Um, and most of them do seem to fit your description. A lot of them are dressed very nicely, despite it being a nightclub. You can tell that they have class, they have taste, they have money. Most of them are dancing. Some of them are over by the bar drinking. Where do you go? Where do you look?
There are often people who like um, to be alone in corners, and those are going to be the first place the Cole looks.
Okay, okay. Roll me presence And socialize, please. One success. Perfect. So you managed to sneak around in these corners without looking like a total creep. Um, and you don't really alarm anyone. You know, most of the people who want to be alone, they're kind of paranoid sometimes, or they're very alert of who's around them because they want to be alone. But you managed to find somebody who doesn't necessarily shy away. It's a young girl. She looks like she's been crying, um, but she smiles at you when you approach, and she doesn't really pay much attention to you aside from the smile. And she kind of goes back to wiping her face and drinking her drink. What do you do?
Oh, I would want to look and see if there were others who weren't having such a hard night.
Okay, okay. Roll me what's an investigation again.
Well, that's 5 successes.
Oh, well, so you can take a condition, or there is an exceptional success for this role. If you would like to take that, you get the choice.
I think I might just take the exceptional success on this one then.
Okay. Uh, you don't see anyone immediately when you start looking around, but you do notice somebody walking in. He's a middle-aged man. He is just beginning to gray at his temples. Um, Despite being in this extremely loud place, he seems like he's trying to talk on his cell phone. So he quickly looks around and tries to find the quietest place that he can, which happens to be one of these dark, abandoned corners, these booths that no one else is in. And he doesn't really seem to be paying attention to anything around him, you know, let alone you.
He actually looks a lot like Cole. So Cole is going to be as sneaky as he can to just approach the guy and get a bite whilst without being noticed. Like while he's on the phone or whatever. Like he's Cole wants to come up behind him and just go for a bite.
So I will need you to make an extended either presence and stealth or dexterity and stealth. I will give you the option.
1 success on the first roll
Okay.
and 3 on the next.
Very nice.
Okay, we got it on 4 rolls then, with a total of 7.
Okay. So it takes you about 2 minutes to slowly and subtly sidle up to him. He does seem to kind of be turning his body away from people that seem to be coming close. Um, he does turn himself away from you, but he doesn't notice you nearly as much as anyone else. He just seems to be aware of somebody's presence and just kind of turns away from you, which is perfect because it reveals the side of his neck that is tilted away or towards his phone, exposing his neck to you. So you take your time, you slowly come up to him, and you eventually do manage to sink your fangs into his neck. Um, how much vitae do you want to take?
Cole has the full 11 then.
Okay. So he's just taking a top off. He's, you know, just taking the edge off and okay. So he takes a little bit and he pulls away. The man on the phone kind of slaps at his neck and turns around and he does finally look at you for the first time that anyone, you know, that you've been in this nightclub, somebody looks at you. And he doesn't really seem to notice what you've done. He still seems a bit kind of dizzy from the kiss. His hand is on his neck and he's got his phone up away from his mouth and he just kind of stares at you and he says, I'm sorry. I don't can I help you?
You already have. Thank you.
So
He
creepy.
he kind of tilts his head a little bit and he doesn't seem to know what to make of that, so he kind of smiles a bit, you know, unsure of himself at you and just turns away back to his corner to continue his phone call. And you hear him say something about some strange weirdo that seems to be admiring him from afar. He sounds
Have a good
flattered
night.
at the very least. And just as you begin to walk away, you feel your phone vibrate in your pocket.
Walking away from the man, he'll will pull the phone out and take a look at it.
Okay. You notice that it is an alert on the application, because there is an application in 2021 for the masquerade. It is disguised as a food app, but you get a message from someone named Price, and that's the only thing that it says is Price. And it just says, meet me here, and it has a pin drop location ASAP.
Time to go.
All right, so you start heading in that direction?
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. So now we're going to cut to George, who is very new to Silver Springs. He probably doesn't know much about the territories other than the one that's assigned to the Order Dracul. If he has gone so far as to ask what that is. He is also out looking for someone to feed from. Where is he? What does he do?
He is likely going to, well, explore at first, see around the neighborhood, see if it's a good one to hunt, and if not, he's going to head into a bar or club, any
Okay,
place good for hunting.
okay. And what type of person are you looking to feed from?
Young, healthy. Beside that, he's not very difficult.
Okay, okay. So on this night, you easily find several people that match that description. Unfortunately, none of them seem to be alone. They all seem to be in groups of two or three. They're kind of huddled together against the wind. They're talking closely with each other. Some of them, unfortunately, seem very aware of everyone's presence around them and seem to shy away from anyone that comes close to them. But there are plenty of people around that you could technically pull away from their friends if you so choose. Um, do you decide to do that, or do you continue on to a bar or a nightclub?
He's just going to go to a bar.
Okay. Upper class, higher scale kind of bar?
Not necessarily, no. Just any bar, maybe not too lower class. Um,
Okay.
he's just going to go to the bar itself, order a drink, and activate O.
Okay. The first bar that you come across is a country bar. You might not be able to stand the music, but the drinks are strong and the smell of blood is stronger now that people have alcohol in their system. Their blood is thin, it's running, it's pumping, and people are having a good time. They really don't seem to notice you up until you activate all, and then all of a sudden, the people closest to you, they start sliding glances your way. And, some of the women who are together, they kind of glance at you and then giggle to themselves and then glance your way again. And even some of the men, they seem to be sizing you up, and you can't tell if they're trying to figure out if you're a threat or possibly a lover. You never know these days. So people are definitely paying attention to you now. Um, Closest to you, you have two young women who seem to be together. They're sitting on the bar stools next to you. Behind you, waiting for a drink, is someone who looks like they're about college. He looks like he could be an athlete. He's very muscular, very svelte and athletic. You can see his muscles kind of pushing against the fabric of his shirt. Um, the three of them, they're definitely drunk, but they do seem young. They do seem healthy. What do you do?
He's going to walk up to the two women and say, choose one, the one that smells better, probably, or that has the most seductive heartbeat. Um, and he's going to tell the other one, may I talk to a girlfriend in private for a minute?
The two of them look at each other, and it almost seems like they can't help but giggle, and they kind of, the one nudges the other, and she sighs very dramatically and she says, "If you have to choose one of us, I guess." And she does. She gets up and she, you know, gestures you to the bar stool that she just abandoned, and she goes to the dance floor to start dancing among everyone else, leaving you alone with her friend, whose heartbeat is starting to pick up pace now that you are sitting next to her.
Well, he's going to tell her how he finds her attractive and how he really, really would like to kiss her in the neck. He's going to pull out his fangs, and at the last moment, he's going to sink them in, deactivate O to make sure that no one's really watching, and make it look like he's just kissing her, essentially.
So she giggles when you say, that you'd like to kiss her on the neck, and she tilts her head and she says, "Okay." And that's really the last coherent thing that she says before you sink your fangs into her and she succumbs to the kiss. Um, no one around you is really paying attention. The bartender kind of looks your way and kind of, people, and goes about his business, and but no one really seems to be paying attention to you other than the woman that you are drinking from. How much are you taking?
Just one. They're drunk. He doesn't necessarily want. He appreciates the alcohol, but he doesn't want to be drunk at this point of the night. Plus, he doesn't want to leave the girl in a bad state, so he's gonna feed sparingly.
After you pull away from her, she seems a bit dizzy, a bit dumbfounded, and her mouth is hanging open slightly. She seems like she's just had the best kiss of her life, which technically you suppose she has. Um, she looks up at you and she says, "Can I get your number?"
I'm sorry, I fear I don't have a phone, but come back to this bar in 3 days, 3 nights. What do you say?
She nods emphatically and she says, "Yeah, I'll be here." And she sticks out her hand and she says, "I'm Madeline."
He takes her hand and start approaching, and he says, "In my culture, we kiss on the cheek."
And she kind of giggles at that, but she leans in and she kisses your cheek and then she moves and she kisses the other and she says, "Did I do that right?"
Perfect. See you in 3 nights.
So you, being new to the city, probably have not downloaded and registered yourself for this application. You do, however, receive a text on your phone from a number you don't recognize, and it says the same thing. It says, "Meet me here," and it has a pin drop location ASAP.
He's intrigued. He's going to call his goal, Miss Jenkins, tell her where he goes and what he does, and that if he doesn't come back in 3 hours from dawn, he, she must worry and come there.
Okay.
I head straight to there.
Okay. So next we come to Vinny. Vinny has a track record. Vinny likes to feed messily sometimes when he can't help it.
Yeah, Vinny's a bad boy.
Vinny is a very bad boy. Um, so where is Vinny tonight? What is Vinny up to tonight? Who is he looking for to feed from?
Yeah, Vinny is up to his old tricks, trying to find a lovely lady of the night who just so happens to be in Invictus territory.
In Invictus territory, you have the central police station. You also have medical examiner's office. So you have to kind of go to the edges of the
Mm.
territory to find the kind of people that you're looking for. But you do. You manage to find a small group of women who are dressed in a way that clearly shows their profession. As you approach, they start leaning against the wall and slinging their hips out seductively, and they start whistling at you, and you don't have to do much anything to get their attention once you start approaching. And one of them even seems to recognize you, and she kind of winks at you and she says, "What are you here for tonight, darling? What can I do for you?"
I'm just looking for someone to keep me company. Yeah.
The other women kind of glance at the woman who had approached you, and she kind of shoos them off and wraps her arm around yours, and she says, "Well, I can do that for you, Vinny. Where are we going tonight?"
I didn't think this through. Oh no, I didn't think I'd get this far. Uh, yeah, Vinny would lead her to a hotel.
So once you get there, it's a small motel. It's, one of the one floor, maybe 7 bedrooms. The sign is glowing. It does say vacancy. Um, do you bother going to the manager's office? Do you try to find an open door? What do you do?
Vinny's not a monster, contrary to popular belief. So, yeah, he'd go through the motions. I'm sure the manager's seen this 1,000 times.
The manager does seem to recognize you too, but he doesn't go so far as to call you by name. He seems to have a gentleman's agreement with you, and he just tips his head and wishes you a good night as he hands you a room key.
Just slide like a solid $150 across the desk. I don't even know how much the room would have cost. I'm just making sure that this place stays open next time I'm here, you know? You gotta grease the palms, you know? You just gotta capiche.
He takes it and he puts it in his pocket and he salutes you and he says, "See you next time." And he goes back to reading the magazine that he'd been flipping through when you walked in.
Takes her to his room and goes through the whole motions of like, what a guy does in a
Yeah,
motel.
yeah, you know.
Only gets like a quarter of the way through the motions before
So you are not able to find out how healthy she is by looking at her. So you're just gonna have to make your best guess on how much you can
ball it.
take. Yeah.
I'm going for two.
Okay. Okay. So you take 2 vitae from her. She seems a little dazed afterward, but she doesn't seem sluggish or lethargic or anything like that. You don't think that you've taken too much from her, fortunately, just by looking at her. Um, So when all is said and done, as she's getting dressed, you feel your phone vibrate in your pocket as you pull your pants on, and she looks over at it and she says, "You busy again already, Vinny?" She kind of winks at you when she says it.
Dark never sleeps, neither do I.
So as you pull out your
Well, me.
phone, you being registered to the Masquerade app do see the same message. You see it from Price, and it says the same thing. Meet me here, pin drop location, ASAP.
All right. And Vinny's getting his suit back on, and he's out the door. Probably a little salute to the manager as he puts his key down. Like, yeah, it was just a short nap.
Manager salutes you and takes the key off the desk and just goes about his business. So then we come to Blake. Blake is out on this night. Blake is also looking for someone to feed from. What type of person does Blake look for when he feeds? What is he doing? Where is he?
Blake is probably out on the street. He keeps getting some guy feeding on his girls, so he's kind of frustrated about that. So for the time being, he's looking for someone who is like alone in an alleyway, someone who's by themselves, someone doesn't really matter what they look like. He's more just wanting to take the top off his hunger.
Okay. Roll me wits and investigation.
I got 2 successes.
Okay, so you don't have to look very long or hard. Once you come across an alley or two, you're able to duck back, and it's hard because it's dark, but you can see the outlines of somebody kind of digging through the trash in the shadows. Um, their clothes are tattered. They have about 3 hats pulled over their head. They have gloves with no fingers on it, and it's very clear that this is a homeless person. Um, but they are alone. They are alone in an alley, and they don't seem to notice you being nearby. What do you do?
Blake's goal is probably to get in and kind of blitzkrieg his way over to him and grab him by the collar and feed on him, but taking very clear care not to leave any bruises or otherwise damage him because Blake is like really big. So he's probably used to having to hold back his strength. He's just going to walk up behind him, just grab him and like not let go.
Okay. Um, roll me strength and brawl.
Okay, I'm good at that. 2 successes.
So you enter into the grapple. You have him uh, by his shoulders, by his collar, and he can't get away. Do you go in for the bite?
I go in.
Okay. How much do you take?
I probably just take 1 because I'm already topped off.
Okay. Once you
Just more
take
a
that,
snack.
more of a snack. Once you take that, what do you do? Do you just let him go? What do you do? You've now
Um,
attacked this man.
I'm just going to just let him go and just let go and let him run away. And then I'm going to fucking bail. I'm going to bounce.
Okay. He does. He seems extremely dazed, extremely confused. He isn't quite sure what happened. He knows that he was grabbed and attacked, and then you bit him, and he succumbed to the kiss, and now he's doesn't know what's happening. But he does stumble back. He trips over the trash bags. He picks himself up, and he bolts past you. He runs right out into the street, looking over his shoulder, and uh, that's the last you see of him. Um,
And just in case he calls the cops, I'm just going to immediately leave the scene.
okay. And as you do, you feel your own phone vibrate. And as you pull it out, you see the same notification on the same application, same message from Price that says, "Meet me here ASAP," and has a pin drop location.
I'm going to head there.
Okay. So, after about an hour of traveling, you guys come to a very small cabin that seems to be on the edge of Silver Springs. It's practically in the forest surrounding the city. Um, it's a small cabin. There's very little electricity going through that you can see. There's a light on in the kitchen. You can see it through the front window of this cabin, but you don't see anyone inside moving around through the window. As far as you can tell, it's just a quiet, small cabin. And as you arrive, one by one, all of you quickly realize that you aren't the only ones that had been called here to this location. Cole sees Vinny, and Vinny recognizes Blake, and might kind of turn his head from him. And then, the three of you see this stranger who you don't really recognize much, but here he is beside you. Um, what do you guys do?
Blake is going to speak up and say, I was in the middle of something. I was in the middle of blowing off some very important steam. Which one of you called me here?
It wasn't me. Stays quiet.
Cole stays quiet. Uh,
George is gonna
Oh,
say,
oh, sorry.
"I can guarantee you it is not me," and you can hear obviously that he has an accent.
So, am I to assume that someone has called all of us here?
Well, I have received this message on my phone. I don't know how they got my number, but I assume that it had to be the city.
Or what? Whose territory are we in right now? Invictus, Carthian, Ordo, whatever.
you are not in anyone's known territory. That is an excellent
Okay.
question. This is uncharted and unclaimed territory as far as you know.
Do I see anything, any signs of anything supernatural around the area? Just like a blood stain, claw marks, maybe like So anything like anything just like suspicious
Roll
looking.
me intelligence and occult.
I failed.
Okay. You don't notice anything. You can't see anything. It's dark. Your heightened senses. They don't pick up anything. There's nothing on the grass. There's nothing on the trees around the cabin. There's nothing on the cabin itself. As far as you can tell, this is just a cabin nearly in the
Hmm.
woods. Not quite in the woods, but nearly in the woods.
So there's no one walking around besides us?
There is no one walking around the cabin besides you. You can't see anyone in the cabin either.
Yeah, Vinny's gonna go to his trunk and get out a rapier, put it on his waist.
Okay. As Vinny is pulling up from his trunk, suddenly there's someone standing on the other side. As he lowers it, there's a person. It's a young woman. Her hair is dark. Her eyes are light. You can see the bulge of fangs permanently behind her lip. And instantly you recognize Sheriff Price. And she looks over all of you and she says, I see you made good time.
Thank
I
you.
don't
So
waste time.
he's gonna cut straight to the point and just be like, "So what's the big deal? What'd you call us here for? I was in the middle of something."
She kind of rolls her eyes and says, so was I, and now you're in the middle of this, so deal with it.
He growls.
She shrugs. She starts making her way towards the cabin. She kind of gestures for everyone to follow. She unlocks the door and lets you all in, and she files in behind you and she says, well, since we want to get right down to business, I'll get right down to business. There's a coterie going around claiming territory that hasn't been handed out by myself or the prince, and they're causing trouble. And to be honest with you, I don't have the time to deal with it. And you guys are some of the eldest in the city, some of the most respected, and I'm hoping that you can deal with this in a manner that doesn't resort to violence. But honestly, I'm just hoping that you can deal with it, period. And if you could, we would be in your debt, the prince and I, and that's not something that I say lightly.
Even for me?
Even for you, yes, especially for you, what better way to get known in the city besides helping the sheriff and the prince out on some of your first nights here?
Oh, thank you. But I don't plan to stay for too long.
Her eyes kind of narrow and she smirks and she says, okay, noted. She doesn't say anything else.
So what's the deal? What, you got a coterie claiming domain? Is this abandoned domain? Wouldn't this be up to the domain owners who own the domain rather than us?
The domain is unclaimed. It belongs to the prince right now until he hands it out.
Hmm. Do we know which domain they're spotting in?
She would she would go to a drawer in her kitchen and she'd open it and she'd pull out this very old piece of paper. She'd flatten it out on her counter and you guys would recognize an aerial view of Silver Springs. She's probably the only person in Silver Springs to have an aerial view of Silver Springs. She looks over the map for a little bit and she points somewhere that looks like it's centered on one of the state parks. And she says, people have been going missing here, and we assume that this is where they're claiming domain, but no one that has run into them is saying anything about it. We're not sure how they're threatening them into silence, if they're dominating them into silence, if what they're doing, but no one has been able to give us more information than people disappearing in this state park.
Do we know what clan they are?
She shakes her head and she says, we haven't seen anything that indicates Protean, so I can't say Gangrel for sure. We haven't seen anything that indicates, my guess would be maybe Ventru, maybe Deva. She kind of glances at Vinny and George, and shrugs and she says, we're really not sure.
And so you want to make sure that they're out of the city without too many repercussions.
She nods and she points to you and says, exactly.
We have to find intels by ourselves.
We can do that.
Well, I can't think of anything more productive to do than to head to the park.
I don't have any better leads to go on than the park and who might be in it. So that's got to go.
Okay. So you all head to the park. You get there. There's no one within sight when you first show up. It's after sunset. Park is technically closed. There shouldn't be anyone in the park. Um, you notice a few homeless people getting comfortable on the benches, on the jungle gyms, wherever they can find a place. Who has the highest wits and investigation?
Cole has 5 for wits and investigation.
Vinny has 4.
Okay. So Cole, will you please roll me wits and investigation?
That is 3 successes.
Okay. So as you guys move through the park, you guys are trying to notice anything out of the ordinary. Cole catches a whiff of something metallic and coppery in the wind, and he turns his head, and there's a stage, a standalone stage used for outdoor concerts or lectures or, stuff like that. It's almost like an amphitheater, except it doesn't have seats surrounding the stage. It's just there for people to stand in front of. But as you notice it, you see a very dark stain um, soaked into the wood of this stage, and you can tell almost immediately that it is blood, and it is fairly fresh.
We have a lead. And after Cole says that, he's heading for the stage without like any other explanation. They'll figure it out when we get there.
Does everyone follow?
Yeah, Blake follows.
George is gonna follow and he's gonna make small talk at the same time. He's going to say his name, introduce himself to the other, and try to have some friendly chat. But if the mood is not at it, he's gonna soon give up and just follow and go to the bloodstain.
Does anyone engage in the small talk? Is anyone
Yeah.
interested in sharing their name?
Blake has a very neutral opinion of George at the moment, so he's probably just gonna say something along the lines of, "So, what brings you to Silver Springs?"
I'm a traveler. I'm a nomad. I'm interested into supernatural phenomenons. Let's
Hmm.
call it.
An investigator.
For the Ordo Dracul.
Blake is probably just gonna introduce him and say, "Well, it's good to have you in town at least. The name's Blake."
Very nice to meet you, Blake.
Cole does respond, at least with his name, so that introductions have been made, but he doesn't seems pretty focused on the task at hand rather than chit-chatting.
So everyone gets to the stage, and as you approach the stage, it's very hard to ignore what Cole has found. You can see the blood stain soaking into the wood. It's very dark. It's actually a very large stain. It's probably maybe a foot or so, square foot. It's very splotchy, but it takes about a
Is it
square foot.
dried?
No, it is. It's if you touch it. Do you touch it?
He is going to like put his face up next to it. He's gonna smell it because he doesn't need to taste blood to actually like track anything with it.
Okay. As you put your face close to it, you can see the moonlight reflecting off of some of the surface of it. So you can tell that it is still relatively fresh. It smells extremely fresh. Um, and immediately you can tell which direction the source of the blood is coming from. And it seems to be coming from further into the woods that surround the park.
He's gonna like point in the direction of woods, say they went that way.
You have a good nose.
It has its uses. Anyways, we better keep going. This blood is fresh, but it might not be fresh for long.
What if we stumble upon someone?
Then we
Awkward.
ask questions. We try and find out if they're the one we're looking for. Then we dissuade them from further inconveniences on the prince's part.
They won't remember a thing if they're not who we're looking for. Don't you worry about it. Name's Vinny, by the way. Stick out a hand for George to shake.
Okay. He shakes your
Blake
hand.
scoffs when Vinny introduces himself. He's like,
George notices. Well, he can immediately tell that there's a story between you two.
needs to keep his hands clean. That's all that matters.
Hey. I've been keeping my nose clean. You know that. Speaking of noses clean, you got something right there.
He very embarrassingly just rubs his hand up his nose and just flicks it to the side.
Got it.
He just stares at you and growls. He acts inhumane, but he's very, very high humanity.
Gentlemen, let's calm down. We have a job to fulfill, and I appreciate it if we could do it as fast as possible.
So you guys start following the trail, yeah?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. So this is going to be an extended teamwork action. So I need everyone but Rook to roll their wits and investigation.
I got 4 successes.
Okay.
3 successes.
Okay.
2 successes.
2 successes.
Okay. So Rook, you can roll wits and investigation plus 9. Yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
Teamwork.
Your goal is 10 successes. Each roll is going to be a minute. And you have, what is that, 14 dice to roll?
It is. There's 5 on the first roll.
So there is another
Oh,
exceptional
yeah.
success condition. You can take that. You can choose to reduce the number of successes required by your investigation skill, or you can reduce the time between rolls by a quarter, I believe. So it'll take about 45 seconds between each roll.
We'll reduce the time.
Okay. So go ahead and make your next roll.
There's 8 on the next roll.
Oh, okay. Well, so what are you doing for that one? Are you reducing the time as well?
Yeah, we'll quicken the pace as we narrow down where we're following. Like, oh, this okay, so we know this is the way now.
Perfect. So the 4 of you together, you're able to discern what smell is the blood, what smell is animal, what smell is coming from the park. And you very, very quickly manage to narrow down on where this smell is coming from. You eventually come to a clearing, and it seems like somebody has set up camp in the clearing. There's a few tents, there's an electric kettle, an electric stove, all running from generator. There is no campfire at all. There's no fire, period. It's all electricity and it's all running from the generator. You can see somebody leaning against a tree. They're holding their knee kind of up by their chest, and you can see where their leg has been cut open by something very sharp. And Blake can immediately tell that this is where the blood has been coming from. This person is the one who was bleeding on the stage and that you have been following back into the woods. When she sees you, she immediately starts crying and she says, "Oh my God, you have to help me. They're going to kill me."
Do I, by smelling the blood, do I recognize whether it's Kindred
It
or
is not
human?
Kindred. This is a human.
Okay. Blake sees a chance to help someone who's in danger, and he kind of steps forward. It's like, what's happening? You got to explain.
She looks behind you and immediately starts to scream. And I need everyone to roll initiative.
Oh. Okay, no, I didn't roll a 0. I rolled a 4 plus 5, so a 9.
Okay.
That's 12 for me.
That is a 13 for me.
We'll get a 9.
Okay. Okay, so the initiative order is Vinny, enemy 1, George, enemy 2, Blake and Cole go on the same turn, and then enemy 3. So, as she starts screaming, you all turn around to look behind you, and you see 3 extremely deranged looking vampires. They are gray, they are sallow, they are gaunt, their eyes are bloodshot, their hair seems to be falling out, which is extremely unusual. You know, Kindred don't normally have problems like that. Um, the best way you can describe them is sickly. Um, and they all look at you like they would look at a human. They look like they want to eat you and like they're going to try. So Vinny, what do you do?
All right, so there's enemy 1 who's after me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I going to pull out my rapier. I'm going to take a couple steps forward and point at that enemy with the rapier. Just yell out, you won't hit me. You won't try. Bet you won't. Start goading him into fighting me as part of courtesy, as I'm establishing this duel.
Okay. Okay. So after goading him, the vampire, you think it's female. It's at least dressed like it was once female, but it's extremely hard to tell any sort of distinguishing features from this person now. Their face is just a mask of hunger and fury. So you're not sure whether or not it recognized you goading it into hitting you, but it does. It does charge you, and it stumbles forward, and its fist sails right past your head. It doesn't even land, and you're not even sure if it recognizes that it didn't hit you or not. It screeches as if it hit you. It almost sounds like it thinks it's victorious, but it just stumbles right past you. Uh, which brings us to George. What does George do?
What does the second vampire seems like doing? It's running straight
They're
at us or at the woman?
they are currently focused on you. They don't seem to be focused on the woman at all.
Okay, good. He's going to look around looking for a branch, anything that can be used as a stake.
Okay. Roll me what's an investigation.
That's one success.
Okay. Near your foot, you're able to just lean over and pick it up. Is a branch about a foot long, and it seems tapered at one end, but it seems thick enough that you can wrap your hand around it without your fingers overlapping. So it seems sturdy enough that if you tried to snap it in half, it wouldn't. So you think you found a good weapon. So that brings us to Vampire 2, who immediately reacts to the fact that you have picked up something that resembles a stake. It lets out a horrible screech, angry, wrathful, and it charges you. And it is going to try to grapple you. So I need you to.
I'm going to interrupt it. This
Ooh. Okay.
So I'm gonna try to catch it by surprise by running straight at it and try to kill it. It's gonna be difficult.
I need you to roll strength plus weaponry. Are you aiming for the heart?
And if I manage to get a success on it, I can probably spend some more vitae to add some damage. That's a success. So I'm gonna spend the vitae and add 3 damage with potence, vigor. It's called vigor.
Okay.
So that's 5 damage.
There you go. So it is
Sweet.
in torpor now.
Yeah, if you're planning on hitting it, Rook, I was planning because I can't use my disciplines because we have an onlooker. I'm just gonna pin its arms behind its back and attempt to do that. So if I could go first, that'd be cool.
I was going to suggest that you go first anyway because you're probably more. Blake is probably more aggressive than Cole.
Yeah. Blake, is like, do you want to? Are we allowed to coordinate our turns? Are you planning on
Absolutely.
hitting it? Are you planning on hitting it with anything, or are you just gonna?
Cole will be pulling out a folding knife and unfolding it to arm
Okay.
himself. Yeah.
Okay, so Blake is just gonna run up and try and like very unprofessional, grab its arms and pin them behind its back, and just hold it there.
Okay, I need you to roll me strength and brawl, please.
That is 3 successes.
And it rolled 2, so you have established the grapple. So now his hands are held behind his back. So that would bring us to Cole.
All right. So that's we have one who is engaged with Vinny, and we
Mhm.
have one who is engaged with um,
Sure.
George, and now also Blake is restraining one.
We have one vampire engaged with Vinny. We have one who is now in torpor, staked by George, and we have one that Blake is holding their arms back.
Real quick, is our bleeding mortal doing anything besides sitting there?
Bleeding.
She's crying. She
Okay.
is trying to get up and get away. She's moving back towards the way that you guys came from.
St, I have a question.
I have an answer.
It is pitch black out here, correct?
Yes.
So she cannot see anything.
Not really.
She just knows she's in danger and something attacked her, and she ran off into the woods.
She is kind of crawling. She's not moving very fast. She's got a gaping wound in her leg, but she is trying to move away from the commotion, yes.
Okay.
So, being that George has so efficiently incapacitated one of these opponents, and Vinny's engaged in a duel, and Blake has the third grappled, Cole's going to make sure that this girl doesn't get away because she's something that we're going to have to deal with too.
Yeah.
So he's going to move to intercept her, but he's also not trying to
Threaten her.
right. He's not trying to be threatening. So he's not going to pull his knife on her or anything. He's just going to go to her and be like, I'll make sure you're safe. Like, don't go anywhere. Like, I'll protect you from what's going on over there. You're okay.
She kind
Um,
of like just sits on her butt and starts sobbing again. She can't see. She doesn't know where she's going, so she just kind of sits there.
all right. And he'll, Cole will look for a second stake because like that seems to be the best solution because fists and knives and stuff are not going to be super effective anyway. So he's staying with her but looking for a second stake.
Okay, roll me what's an investigation.
2 successes.
Okay, so on the ground, nearby the woman's knee, you do see a branch that is shaped very similarly to the one that you had seen George use. It's about a foot long, it's thicker at one end than it is at the other, and it seems like it could do the job if you manage to get it in the right location. Now we are up at Vinny again.
Vinny is having an honorable duel with this monster.
Go ahead and roll your dexterity and weaponry. Don't forget your specialty. And his
And
defense is 3.
3. Okay. That's 1 success.
Okay, so you do 2 bashing because they downgrade that. So 2 bashing damage.
And that's me. That's Vinny. That's Vinny's turn.
Okay.
Oh,
She screeches as you slice into her. You manage to get her across the shoulder. So she kind of slaps a hand across it before she tries to like backhand you away from her. So it misses its attack. It stumbles right past you again. It's not being very effective, especially with a big old gash across its shoulder. So that brings us back to George.
Well, George's gonna look around. He's gonna see that Vinny is probably not in trouble. Um, he's gonna see Blake grappling the other one, and Cole, who takes care of the girl. So things seems okay, under control for now. He's gonna pause a moment to make sure that no other are coming.
Okay, roll me. You can actually just roll me perception for that one.
All right, will danger sense apply?
Yes, yes, it will.
Then it's one success.
Okay, so you take a minute to just kind of listen, look around. You don't hear anything rustling in the trees. You don't hear any other beating hearts or lack of a beating heart. As far as you can tell, there's no one else approaching you guys. You seem to be pretty secluded for right now. Blake and Cole.
Blake is probably just going to continue the grapple until someone
And
can deal with this vampire.
and Blake will call out, "George, catch!" and chuck the stake in a non-threatening way to him, because Cole's going to stay with the girl and make sure that she is not going anywhere. But he's found a weapon, and George has proven some proficiency with it, and so we'll get him armed so we can take care of this.
Okay. Blake needs to roll his strength and brawl again, please.
I got 3 successes again.
And he got 1, so you continue to hold him in the grapple.
Awesome.
Are you doing any damage? Are you kneeing him in the back? Are you just holding him still?
I'm just gonna kick in one of his knees and force him down onto his knees, so it's like in downward angle to aid the staking.
Okay, so now we are back up at Vinny. I'm gonna continue slicing and dicing.
Continue slicing and dicing.
Blade
Do
Master
it.
Vinny.
Blade Master Vinny. Yeah, and spending a bit of willpower.
6
Very
dice
slow
and
death.
1 success.
Assuming
Ooh.
its defense is still 3. Or her defense.
Yes,
Its
yeah.
defense?
It's defense.
Her
I've been
defense?
calling it
Its
it. You
defense.
can't really tell.
Dealing out 2 lethal damage. It looks more like Vinny's just playing with his food than an actual fight.
Oh, that's funny. So they're going to try and grapple you, actually. Good luck.
I
I
knew
need
it.
you
Oh
to
no.
roll strength and brawl.
Oh no. Oh no.
I was not designed for this.
Yeah, grappling, this isn't a duel.
I boosted my
This is
defense.
wrestling now. How dare you?
I boosted my defense, and it's useless against a grapple.
2 successes.
All right, well, fortunately it rolled 1, so you manage to get out of the way as it tries to wrap its arms around you, and you keep your sword up between the two of you, and
At least take me out to dinner first. Yeah.
so now we are at George again.
Well, George has a stake. He knows that no one else is coming, so he's gonna help Blake with his vampire, and he's gonna attempt to stake the other one. Unfortunately, that's not gonna do it.
So you manage to get it through the rib cage, but you can tell that you've missed the heart. It does, however, it does damage. So you know that it missed the heart, but the vampire does kind of stop for a second and kind of check itself to try and pull the stake out. It seems to
As
be
best
having
as you
some
can
trouble
with
with
your arms pinned behind your back.
it. Yeah, it's trying, but well, I mean, it can move its head around, so he's trying to, get to it. He's trying to figure out what's more of a concern, the stake sticking out of him or the guy holding him back, yeah. So Blake, I need you to go ahead and roll your strength and brawl again.
2 successes.
So unfortunately, this time it breaks out of the grapple.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
it rips its arms free from your grasp, and it attempts to try and pull the stake from its chest. That's what it's doing. It's not attacking you guys. It's trying to pull the stake from its chest, fortunately. Cole, are you staying with the girl?
Yes, and she wearing some kind of like coat, like something beyond like a shirt and pants or something.
Yeah, she is. She's wearing a hoodie, and it actually looks like it's a bit of an oversized hoodie, so she's wearing one of those.
Okay. So he's gonna tell her that he's gonna inform her of what he's doing so that like she's not too threatened by him. He's gonna pull out his knife and like cut a strip off the bottom of the hoodie because he's gonna start like bandaging up her leg,
Okay.
make sure she doesn't keep on bleeding too
Um,
much.
roll me intelligence and medicine.
Medicine, no. Yeah, it was a chance die and it did not come up a 10.
Let's see. Vampire 3 is going to pull the stake from its chest, which does more damage.
That's
So it
convenient.
throws it to the side, and it is actually going to try and grapple Blake now. So I need
Oh,
you to roll strength and brawl again.
playing with the big leagues now, aren't we, kiddo? Oh no, I got 1 success.
So did it. So reroll.
2 successes.
All right, it got nothing. So it fails. Which brings us back up to Vinny. All right, so are you just going ahead and attacking again?
I might actually, because Vinny knows very well that as a Ventru, I can dominate that mortal into forgetting what happened here. But no one else knows that. I don't think. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. That's up to them. But I would like to activate a discipline of mine that I have stolen called Nightmare, the Dread Presence.
Ooh.
Yeah, as an instant action. So everything begins to go a little sideways here. As the shadows begin to jump out at people, and I just become scarier. Everyone knows it's me that's done this, as per the ability. It's an instant action, but there's no dice involved. It'll just boost my intimidation for later. What Vinny
The
does is just sort of get into a, like, the duel has now begun type of stance. A little.
touche. Um, so your opponent, it falters for a minute. It kind of stumbles back a little bit and tries to decide if it really wants to attack you or not. It turns from you and it starts moving towards Cole and the girl on the ground.
So
Oh
Uh,
it's
no.
disengaged from the duel. This is a bad thing. Activate my trap card over here. Okay. So, as per my actual fighting style, they have disengaged from the duel, and so now I deal to them 3 lethal damage, or 3 lethal damage equal to my socialize, which is 3,
okay.
and I knock them down in the process. So
Oh
they
damn.
turn, I come up, trip them, stab, and then I take 2 steps back
Damn.
and yell at them to get up.
So now this vampire is on the ground. So it's on the ground. You can see the cuts that you have put on its body. They look completely unnatural. They look rotted and deformed, just like everything else about these vampires. Looks sickly. The tissue inside seems to look a little gray and green. It really doesn't look great. Um, but you have taken them out of the fight for now. They are trying to get back up. And we are back at George.
George is currently fighting one, the same as Blake, so he's not necessarily aware of what's going on behind. He's going to pull out a knife from his jacket, a big hunting knife. And he's going to slice at the vampire.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me. Go ahead and roll me strength and weaponry.
No defense.
It is. Which one are you attacking? Are you attacking the one on the ground?
I'm attacking the one Blake was fighting with, so he just attempted to grapple with Blake and failed. That's 2 successes plus 1 of weapon modifier, so that's 3.
All right. So George takes this hunting knife and manages to get the hand of one of the vampires and slices the fingers of it off. And it doesn't, bleed or anything, but the vampire starts screeching in absolute pain and grips its hand up to its chest and seems to be more worried about it than trying to grapple Blake again. So Blake and Cole, it is your turn.
I guess we just continue as we were doing, where I go first and then he goes after. That's all right with you? Blake is going to see that what I assume to be a revenant is running towards the girl who he desperately does not want to get hurt. He is going to say no, and just like his limbs get longer as he activates a predatory aspect and unnatural aspect, and at the end of his like now elongated arms are these large like hooked talons, and he's gonna run at the creature and just tear into it with the claws, which are a +2 lethal weapon and have 2 armor piercing.
So go ahead and roll me strength plus brawl -3 for the defense, and we
2
will add you.
successes.
So that is 4.
Just to clarify, which is being attacked here?
The one running towards the girl, the one that had disengaged from your duel.
Oh, oh no.
One that Vinni knocked down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so knocked down, the defense goes down by 2 for them. And since you've come into hand-to-hand combat range, my defensive strikes kick in, you take 1 lethal damage.
Oof.
Invictus cuts both ways. Does
Wait, I take
anyone who
1
comes into
lethal?
hand-to-hand? Yeah,
Yeah.
from me. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You
It would
can roll
downgrade
okay.
2
1
more dice,
passing.
though.
Yeah, you get 2 more dice, but
Yeah, you can roll 2 more
Oh,
dice.
you don't get in the Invictus's way.
1 success.
Sorry.
All right. So Blake has now charged in. He barely manages to get to the side as Vinny's sword just keeps flying through the air. It catches Blake in the side. So now we
The
are at
fuck,
Cole.
Vinny?
Look, I know you don't like me not liking you eating my prostitutes, but come on, this is a little much. So now we are to Cole.
So Cole, he's gonna half and half. I'm gonna cut another strip from her hoodie and be like, "You do it. I need to help." so she can bandage her own leg, and Cole's gonna like move to be able to engage on his next turn.
Okay.
But I'm not assuming I'm gonna be able to like cut a bandage and move and also attack in the same turn.
So you can cut the bandage and you can move, but you can't attack. So yeah,
Right.
you can get up there. She manages to tie it around her leg. Yes, she does. Yes. She got 1 success. So let's see. Vampire 3 is still trying to fight Blake, so he is actually going to turn towards George, since George is close now, and attempt to grapple George. So George, I need you to roll strength and brawl, please.
4 successes.
Oof.
Ooh, wow. All right. So he tries to grab you, and you manage to just dash right out of the way, and he stumbles past you as he tries to wrap his arms around you. and fails badly. And that brings us back up to Vinny.
Alrighty, okay. Just go over, pause my incessive slashing. Just get ready to stab this vampire. I'd go for the heart, but I don't know if that would
It
finish
wouldn't
this
stake it. It has to be
fight.
wooden.
Yeah. I'll get a wooden sword later, but for now, using yet another part of my fighting style, value of the spoken word, I'm going to substitute my weaponry for my intimidation, which would be 2 plus 1 from nightmare. And if I can make a veiled threat of like, don't worry, it'll be over soon before I stab, that
Are you
be
built
a
so
total of 7
weird?
dice. I'm built so weird.
I love
I
it.
didn't even know this was a synergy I had until now. Of
I
like
love it.
the
So you make
nightmare
your veiled
intimidation.
threat,
Yep.
and that adds what? 1 to your dice pool?
1 for specialty.
Okay,
I'm
so
rolling
He's
that would
doing
7 dice.
like a black swordsman build, like a black knight build.
All right, go ahead and roll with your 4 instead of your weaponry.
That is 2 successes plus 1 damage from having this rapier. So that is 3 lethal damage I'm dealing out.
So as you stab downwards, even though you don't hit the heart, you notice that as your sword enters the vampire's flesh, that it goes completely still. It goes, if possible, even more gray. Its skin becomes ashen and dusky, and its eyes go milky. And you immediately recognize that you have sent this vampire into torpor with your swordsmanship.
Flick off any like filth from my rapier, put it back. Just nod to
So,
everyone else.
Excuse me for 1 second. I'll be right back.
sure. George, it is your turn.
Well, George still has a knife, he still has an opponent, so he's gonna aim for the leg.
Okay.
He's
That
going to try to
is
hit his leg.
-2, I think.
I miss.
Blake, it is your turn.
I'm sensing that this fight is almost over, so I'm going to drop horrid talons and my unnatural aspect as my body just grows back into a natural shape. Run at the other revenant and just sock it in the face with my bare fist.
Okay. Go ahead and roll strength plus brawl -2.
3 successes.
Nice. Cole, it is your turn.
Cole will be piling on with continuing to move up and slash with his knife.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me strength plus weaponry. -1.
No successes.
Ouch. All right, so Vampire 3 is going to stop attempting to grapple people. He is clearly not built for that, so what he is going to do is he's going to turn to the nearest person, who happens to be George, and he's going to try and punch him. So he is rolling his strength plus his brawl minus George. What is your defense?
8.
Jesus, you guys, come on. So that's chance. Yeah, no, it tries to hit you and it just stumbles past you. It doesn't even stand a chance. Which brings us back to Vinny.
All right, so Vinny's job is done here. That other vampire, they can handle this. I've done my fair share of fighting for one day. So
Okay.
Vinny is going to go over or try and feel around for the woman. I'm not sure if I can see her in this pitch black darkness. I have no idea where she is. I don't
Yeah, it's too dark for you to tell. You can kind of tell where Cole left from, but since he moved, your orientation, it's all messed up. He messed it up. It's all his fault.
Yeah, it's
So Vinny has no idea where the girl is.
gonna start
George.
yelling swears in Italian directed vaguely at Cole.
It
His
is Cole.
name's being mentioned once or twice.
George, it is your turn.
Well, he's in a fight, so he cannot complain that that other people have given up. He's gonna attack straight up.
Okay.
It's 1 success, +1 from weapon modifier, so 2. Yep.
So as you take your hunting knife, you manage to get it deeply across the chest, and as you open up that wound, uh, the skin around it turns more gray, goes dull, their eyes go milky and white, and once again you recognize that you have put a vampire in torpor. And with that, all three of them are still on the ground in torpor. But you still have this crying, sobbing, wounded girl to deal with who is now completely confused. She has no idea what's going on. She can't see what you guys have been doing. She just hears a bunch of ruckus, hears a bunch of screaming, screeching, and she's terrified. So she's huddled up by herself, sobbing. What do you guys
Blake
do?
is gonna approach her and try and comfort her and just be like, "It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. It's over now. It's over. Look, we're gonna get you out of here, but we need
But
to know: did you come here with anyone else, any like thing you can use to get home? I can take you home if you have somewhere to go, but you need to communicate with us here."
She kind of like holds her hands up and she's like, I need a second to breathe. You guys just give me a second to breathe.
Of course.
She kind of takes a minute and she starts crying harder. It does take her a few minutes to calm down. She tells you that she came here with her boyfriend and her sister, who are dead. And you can see their bodies hidden in the tent. Um, you can smell that they are no longer living. You can't hear their heartbeats. From the looks of it, it looks like the vampires got to them. There are bite marks all over. Their necks are kind of torn open. It was a very messy feeding, and it did definitely seem to result in the death of the two people. So she's very shaken up. She's sobbing. She's pointing you towards the corpses. But she says, "That's who I came with. That's who drove me here."
Right. Do you have anywhere you're staying? I can drive you home if you like.
She just shakes her head and she says, "I just want to go home."
She's not. She's not cooperating. That makes it difficult. 'Cause now I sound like I don't
um,
want to pressure her and have her freak out. But I'm just gonna look at. Was it Vinny who said he could like
Vinny
wipe her
has
memory?
dominate.
If you
I can
wipe
wipe
her
memory.
memory, her siblings are
Basically
just gonna
stuff.
be dead, and she's gonna be left with that with no memory of what happened.
Hey! Look, just like take you off to the side, just like arm around your shoulder. Whether or not the arm stays there or not is up to you. But listen, we just gotta get rid of the bodies, just you know, dump them in the river,
She
Remember anything
immediately
what happened?
starts sobbing harder.
I'm too. I thought she was farther away. I couldn't see her. Oh man, damn Cole. All right,
Let's
look.
just.
Can I look her in the eye right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to dominate her
Okay.
to believe with these 4 words, if I can get them out in time. I haven't said anything, so that she forgets everything that I've said tonight.
So she is rolling her resolve. You succeeded at that, yeah?
Yeah. 3 successes.
Perfect. Perfect. She got nothing, so you succeeded in that, and she is completely mesmerized. So you can command her as needed, and your command is, I didn't say anything.
First, I haven't said anything.
Okay, so she's completely forgotten what you've said.
So, assuming everyone just lets me continue giving her commands,
I'm just gonna like look over at Vinny and say, Tell her I got someplace safe for her. I'm gonna just take her there, and she can come with me, and she'll be all right in the morning.
Glare as like, that is way too many words, my man. Hold on a second.
Just say,
Stop.
go with. Okay.
Stop crying. Be calm. Go with him.
Okay.
Over
So
the
she
course
does.
of like 4 seconds.
She does
Not 4 seconds, like
immediately
4 turns.
stop crying. She calms herself down. She kind of sniffles a little bit, but she is calm. And she does get up to follow Blake. No questions asked.
He probably came here on his motorcycle, Mary, and he's just gonna put her on the back and climb up and just drive her to.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Damn it. I need
what?
to get it at the get. Hold on. Okay.
Okay, he's gonna wait for Vinny.
Point to the tent. I don't. Wait, a bear attacked this night.
All right.
So this was all a bear attack. And then give her a pat on the shoulder, give you like a. And
On your way, champ.
send you on your way.
And Blake is gonna just drive her, try and like question her and say, "Do you have anywhere you need to go? Anywhere you can stay?"
She would just give you directions to her house. She would tell you she wants to go home.
Okay, he's gonna drive her there, and when he drops her off, he's gonna flip up his little BlackBerry, and he's gonna text the group or any of them and say, "He's gonna text the sheriff, say, job's done, requesting cleanup."
As you pull your phone out, you notice that you have a text message. It's not through the Masquerade
Okay.
app, but it's a text message. Um, and somehow the number has come up encrypted. It just shows up 000 000 000 000.
Okay.
And
Spooky.
that's all you have. And attached is a picture of you holding a vampire's arms behind its back. And that's it.
Does it say anything?
Nope.
Ah, shit.